In February 1993, the world was rocked by a crime so shocking it defied comprehension. Two 10-year-old boys, John Venables and Robert Thompson, abducted and murdered 2-year-old James Bulger in Bootle, Liverpool. This case not only horrified the United Kingdom, but also drew international attention, igniting debates on juvenile crime, the age of criminal responsibility, and the role of societal influences on young minds. The brutality of the crime, combined with the age of the perpetrators, made this one of the most infamous cases in modern British history. John Venables, born in August 1982 in Liverpool. John Venables grew up in a troubled household. His parents' marriage was fraught with conflict, and they eventually separated, leaving John oscillating between homes. His mother struggled with his behavioral problems, which included temper tantrums, violent outbursts, and truancy. Teachers and neighbors noted his erratic behavior, and he had a history of minor theft and bullying. Despite these warning signs, no one could have predicted the horrific crime he would later commit. Robert Thompson, also born in August 1982, Robert Thompson was the fifth of 7 children in a family plagued by dysfunction. His father abandoned the family, leaving his mother to cope with severe alcoholism and depression. The children were largely left to fend for themselves, leading Robert into a life of petty crime and delinquency from an early age. He was known for bullying, vandalism, and skipping school. His home environment was described as chaotic, and he quickly developed a hardened demeanor. On February 12, 1993, John Venables and Robert Thompson skipped school and roamed the New Strand shopping centre in Bootle, Liverpool. Surveillance footage later revealed that the boys were wandering aimlessly, seemingly looking for a child to abduct. 2-year-old James Bulger was at the shopping centre with his mother, Denise. While she was momentarily distracted at a butcher's shop, John and Robert seized the opportunity. They lured James away, holding his hand and leading him out of the shopping centre. The abduction was captured on CCTV, showing James between the 2 older boys, a haunting image that would become symbolic of the case. Over the next 2 miles, the boys led James through Liverpool. Several passers-by noticed the distressed toddler, but assumed the older boys were his brothers or babysitters. James cried for his mother, but no one intervened. The boys' ability to appear unthreatening allowed them to evade suspicion. The boys took James to a secluded area near Walton railway tracks. The brutality. What followed was an act of unimaginable cruelty. The boys began to torture James, throwing bricks and stones at him, kicking and beating him with ferocity. They shoved batteries into his mouth and used an iron bar to inflict fatal injuries. The final act of their cruelty was placing James's body on the railway tracks, hoping a train would hit him and make his death appear accidental. Aftermath of the crime. After committing the murder, John and Robert returned home as if nothing had happened. James's mutilated body was discovered 2 days later, sparking a nationwide manhunt and an outpouring of public grief and outrage. The grainy CCTV footage of James being led away was broadcast nationwide. The public's response was immediate and intense, with thousands of tips pouring in. Witnesses recognized John and Robert from the footage, and the police quickly moved to arrest the boys. Initially, both boys denied involvement. However, under interrogation, John Venables broke down and confessed, implicating Robert. Robert, in contrast, remained composed and blamed John for the crime. The trial was unprecedented, as John and Robert were the youngest defendants in British history to be charged with murder. They were tried in an adult court, leading to heated debates about the ethics of trying children as adults. The trial attracted massive media attention, with the public demanding justice. Though the boys' identities were initially protected, they were later revealed after their conviction, further fueling public outrage. Both John and Robert were found guilty of murder and sentenced to indefinite detention at Her Majesty's pleasure, a form of juvenile life sentence. The case ignited a national and international outcry. People struggled to comprehend how 2 children could commit such a heinous act. There were widespread calls for harsher punishments and debates about the age of criminal responsibility. The media played a significant role in amplifying the public's fear and anger. The case sparked discussions about the influence of violent media on children and the perceived moral decay of society. Both boys were placed in secure children's homes, where they received education and therapy. Efforts were made to rehabilitate them, though public sentiment remained largely unforgiving. In 2001, John and Robert were released at age 18 with new identities. A legal injunction protected their anonymity for life, allowing them to start anew, though this decision remained controversial. Robert reportedly adjusted to life after release, maintaining his anonymity and avoiding further legal trouble. John's post-release life was marred by reoffending. In 2010, he was arrested for possessing child abuse images and returned to prison multiple times. His repeated offenses reignited public outrage and led to debates about whether his anonymity should be revoked. Impact on the legal system. The case led to reforms in how young offenders are tried and treated in the UK. It also sparked debates about the appropriate age of criminal responsibility, which remains at 10 in England and Wales. The murder of James Bulger left an indelible mark on British society. It inspired numerous films, books, and discussions about childhood innocence and evil. James's family became vocal advocates for victims' rights, ensuring that his memory would not be forgotten. The case continues to provoke questions about justice, rehabilitation, and public safety. Should juvenile offenders like John and Robert be given second chances, or does the nature of their crime warrant lifelong punishment? The tragic death of James Bulger remains one of the most harrowing crimes in British history. It forced society to confront uncomfortable truths about childhood, evil, and the capacity for violence at such a young age. The legacy of this case continues to shape legal practices, public discourse, and cultural understanding of juvenile crime. Though time has passed, the memory of James Bulger and the questions his murder raised continue to resonate around the world.